Welcome back to In the Field, where we meet with the industry's top sales and marketing leaders that spend time in the field. I'm Zach, your host, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Mobley. And today I have a good friend of mine, Tanner Lacey, who recently joined the team at Sendoso. Tanner, how's it going, man?
It's good.
Thanks for joining on short notice. We're happy to have you here.
Yeah.
For those that don't know you, I'd love a little bit of a background on Sendoso as well as yourself. Why don't we start with the Tanner story, and then we'll move on over to the Sendoso story.
Yeah. So, from the area, not too exciting. Hopped around a little bit, but currently living out in Lehigh, so not too far from here. And then as far as my career goes, I started off luckily at a little place called Spiff as, employee number one. There was some exciting news about Spiff earlier this week.
Really exciting news.
Yeah. So that was great. That's where I kind of fell into sales, revenue, marketing, that whole thing. That's where I really got my first swing at events as well. And then since then, I've been in revenue roles. Did a little stint at a company called Silk, which was a logistics supply chain SaaS company, and then sold sales enablement at Sales Assembly. And then now I'm heading up all sales at Sendoso. For people who don't know, Sendoso is, my spiel on it is its acceleration platform via gifting. So using gifts, e-gifts, any type of physical, send in any part of the funnel. So whether it's a lead becoming an actual prospect or a customer or an opportunity to renewing a customer or upselling inside of it, it's the idea of making it more personal and adding that extra touch to push the deal forward faster, better.
Why did you end up making the jump and moving over to that team? Was there anything that stuck out to you about the company, about the space that really excited you?
So I got super lucky early at Spiff. Spiff and Sendoso actually switched products. We did a product swap. When you're raising money, you got to get those nice logos. And so I've been a user for a long time. And just my selling style has always been a little bit more of that like personal touch. Spend a lot more time on less accounts, but spend a lot, get a little more personalized. And so it's something I believed a lot in. And the team and what they're doing is awesome. The products turn into something really cool. And it's not every day you get a chance. Like, obviously, there's been some shaky things in the market with this space, but everything looks like it's going, growing up, and I get a chance to kind of be part of that. So it's exciting.
I've got several stories about my experience with physical gifting in the business space. The first of which, do you remember ToutApp?
I don't.
ToutApp was the first really successful sales engagement platform. Before SalesLoft and Outreach really came onto the market, ToutApp, they made a name for themselves with sequencing, things like that. Their founder, a guy named TK, ended up selling the company to Marketo. But the one thing I really love about ToutApp is they sent me a T-shirt. I was an early adopter of their platform. They sent me a T-shirt. I was wearing the T-shirt one weekend, and my oldest daughter, who at the time was like 3 or 4, she just was like coloring at the table. I had no idea what she was doing, and she came up and gave me a picture that she colored, and it said "I close deals," which was what my shirt said in the font
awesome.
of ToutApp and everything. It was really cute. So I just posted it online, posted the picture on Twitter, and TK responded and asked for my address to send us some more stuff, and sent Lucy, my daughter, just a whole bunch of cool swag, and definitely solidified my my opinion of ToutApp. And I was a longtime customer of theirs before they kind of sunset that product, and I moved my loyalty elsewhere. But that was cool. Another story is about 5 years ago, I was leading a sales team. It was actually this time of year right before Christmas. And so many of our vendors were sending us cookies, donuts, just a bunch of sugary snacks. And I could just feel myself getting fatter. I could hear myself getting fatter. And I just kind of vented online like, man, I am going to die of a heart attack before Christmas with all of the treats that all of our vendors are sending us. Hashtag somebody send me a fruit basket. Next day, somebody from Postmates delivered like $300 worth of healthy food to our office. You better believe I took that meeting. A guy named Mikey, who was an SDR at DocSend at the time. He's moved on and taken some really cool roles. And then the third one is something that you did for my son. So Sendoso is not based here in Utah, but you're here in Utah. A couple of other people are here in Utah. You had some people in town. I threw out the offer that you guys could use our office space. So you did. I used our office space for a few days, and I had to bring my 4-year-old, Hurricane Hayes, in one day because it was our nanny's day off, and we had somebody else lined up, but she backed out. So I brought him in, and he was just monopolizing everything, talked to you about his love for excavators, drew you a picture, I think, of an excavator, and you used your own platform, Sendoso, to send him an RC excavator. That kid was so happy. It was awesome. And yeah, definitely helps you guys stand out from other platforms and other people that might want my business in the future, because you took the time to actually learn about my kid and send something that was meaningful to him, but also just, I don't know, just the fact that you took the time to listen to him and focus on him versus trying to push any sort of sale down our throats or anything like that was awesome.
Yeah,
So,
no, I was stoked to see you got it. Glad he liked it.
oh, he was so
Tried
happy.
to tried to get a good one.
Yeah, he like originally we were talking about sending him cookies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and he still had that in his head. So he's like, "Is this my cookies?" Then he opens it, and it was the excavator, and he was so much more excited.
Yeah, I was looking through the marketplace and all this stuff, and eventually I just was like, you know what, I'll just hop on our little Amazon integration and send him an excavator. Told him he had to help you dig out the weeds though and everything in the garden.
Well, there was one time he has like this sit-on excavator, kind of like the ones that they have at some extra playground with like levers that you pull. And we put in a fence about a year ago, but throughout the winter, the dirt from the fence post was just sitting on our basketball pad. And I was out doing some yard work one day, and he's just out there in like a PJ t-shirt, his underwear, and some boots, which yes have excavators on them. And he's just sitting playing around in the dirt with this thing. And after like an hour and a half, I kid you not, he's like, "Dad, come look, I made a foundation." I'm like, dude, what kind? He was 3 at the time. What kind of 3-year-old knows what a foundation is? It was amazing. Definitely resonated. It was personalized. So I wanted to ask a couple of questions. The first one is, what value have you and has Sendoso seen with being personal with the gifting rather than just sending generic swag or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and place for every type of send, right? And like a good example is we just had a deal where we found out that it was someone's son's birthday, like kind of they've mentioned it in passing, and we sent them out like a cake for their birthday, right? And things like that. And when you spend the time, you find things that are personal. Again, like they don't always buy, but they remember. And so that's a big piece of it. Like if I go do a ton of research on Chris, and find out he likes whatever restaurant or everything, and I send him something, that doesn't mean I'm automatically going to close the deal. But when either it's this time later, it's buying cycle late, whatever it is, that resonates and that pays down the road. We've seen anywhere between 3 to 5x increases of like ROI on the spend, and it climbs up higher as you get more personal. So there's still a time and place for a gift card for socks or whatever swag you want to send that's pretty generic, but it has a lot to do with what you send, but also how you send it, and how it's interacted with, what you do to follow up with it. Like there's a whole like array of things that make it actually effective for you.
Yeah, that you guys have like a team of people writing handwritten notes and things like that. That's so awesome. Okay, so how do you feel a platform like Sendoso can fit into face-to-face marketing? Like, I mean, obviously this podcast is in the field. It's primarily around event and field marketing. What's Sendoso's place with that?
Yeah, so events, I love events. That mean you've like chatted about events in the past. That was a huge part of what I did at Spiff. And when I first started, I had never done one before. And I thought I was going to be really cool, and I ordered a whole bunch of Spiff socks, right? And we showed up to SaaStr with a whole box of socks. And I went home at SaaStr with about 400 pairs of socks.
Nobody wanted
that. Every other, yeah. And then also every other vendor was giving me socks too. And like we didn't stop doing socks, but like what I learned from that was that everyone has T-shirts, everyone has socks, everyone has chargers. They all do the same thing. So we started toying around with other things and trying to get more personal. There was a few things that like I found just in general. One is you don't have to overdo it to stand out in field sales with gifting and with like physical goods and what you're doing, whether you're doing it at, before, or after. Yeah. Also, we started sending things beforehand. So we actually would start sending out coffee gift cards before, or we used Sendoso when I was at Spiff to do that. Right now, we have a lot of our customers who we push to do after events, and I can dive into specifics, but the right type of gifting at an event it's the same thing. It's memorable. I don't wear T-shirts. I don't wear socks anymore either. I passed that stage, I guess. But like I do have a lot of little things that I use. Like for a long time, I used one of those little things on my camera on my laptop because I'm like Zuckerberg, covers it with a sticky note. So I think it's just like it's a good way to stand out. It's a good way to like to resonate. And then after events, I mean, even at SaaStr, I just went as an attendee. Somehow, almost every SaaStr sponsor got my email, and so I got a whole bunch of thank you for stopping at my booth. To the point where I just started deleting the emails.
I didn't stop
at
your booth.
I never stopped at any booth, so it wasn't me. And so like it's just a good way to stand out. And what's cool about in-person events is you get to actually, especially now more than ever, that's the time you shake people's hands. You grab a drink with them and get to know them. And that's when you can really learn what they care about. You can learn about their kids, their families. So it's a full cycle in how you approach it. Like sending a whole bunch of gift cards out after the fact might be more effective than just sending emails, but not that much more. It's
unless
about making
they're personalized gift cards based on something you learn about them.
100%.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I can think of some lower level things that I've done in the past that are along those lines. Like we did the whole $5 Starbucks gift card at a show a few years ago at a previous employer, and it was the show was in the Sands Expo Center in Vegas, which is connected to, I believe, the Venetian and the Palazzo, and there's a Starbucks right inside the casino as you leave the expo hall. So I had the stack of gift cards with a little greeting card from our company saying, coffee on us. And we originally were told to just hand them out to extra special people at the booth. I'm like, this isn't going to do much right here in the moment. What we need is we need to target people that we know are already on their way to getting coffee and offer to pay for it and give them a gift card. So that's what we did. We posted a few people at the Starbucks, and if we saw them walking up with the lanyard from that event, we would say, hey, coffee's on me. Don't ask for anything else in return. But it had obviously our company info in there, and we had so many people stop by the booth saying, hey, I have no idea who you are. Thanks for buying me coffee. I saw your booth. I'd love to chat more and understand who you are. Yeah, it was really cool.
It's funny. A lot of people like you guys probably had too, like the finance or someone will freak out, right? They're like, hey, this is for specific people.
Oh yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, like let's say you're going into a lower end event, right? You're going to pay what, $25K if you're a sponsor. So like adding an extra $2,000 is nothing when it comes to your actual CAC if you close one deal, And so like a lot of people try to get over targeted in those type of campaigns with gifting, and you end up just like not utilizing or getting the most ROI that you could. So like I love, like we did one in the past where we gave out hangover kits, with like I like liquid IVs and things, and we just started handing those out. Like we didn't care who we gave them to. It was just something. And we saw a lot of like success from that. People appreciated it. I also always loved what I think it's Patrick Campbell at Profitwell, which is now I think Paddle. Used to do a SaaStr every year where it was a lot more of an experience with the gifting, and so you got a key. And that key could go try to open the box that had a whole bunch of cash or something in it.
That's cool.
And then you would go, but then they always had like a consolation prize because I don't think any key probably actually opened up that box. But they had a whole bunch of different stuff with like, hey, go grab something. It's something that like you'd actually use, and so you could pick. And then like one thing that we're seeing more and more of with like more than just Sendoso can do this, but these platforms is you can let people pick their swag. It's hey, I'm sending you something here. Go ahead and grab what you want, put your address in, we'll ship it to you. You don't have to take it home with you.
Speaking of SaaStr, that's what they do now. They have, I guess they've done it for a while. They have the SaaStr store, and when you check in, you get your check-in bag. It has SaaStr bucks on it, and you can exchange those for whatever resonates with you at their store. So, like Joe, our CTO, I remember he got this really really nice water bottle. I do like T-shirts for working out, so I got a cool T-shirt. They have little stuffed animals if you're like, I don't care, but I've got kids or whatever. And everybody got to pick their own. And what that does is, it allows you to pick something that you'll actually want,
Mm-hmm.
but also because it's something you want, there's also like a lot less waste, right?
Yep.
Like I've come home with a bag full of swag from different booths and thrown 95% of it away before anybody ever sees it.
Yep.
That doesn't happen if I get to pick what it is. So how does that work within Sendoso for people that aren't familiar with the platform? Do you like maybe just give us like a 30-second overview of how if I'm sponsoring a booth and I want to incorporate Sendoso into that, how you would recommend using it?
Yeah. So I mean, this is actually a pretty recent upgrade from what we had previously, but we have a thing called Party Links, right? Party Links, you can actually produce a QR code. So on that QR code, you can tie it to a campaign, and that campaign could have a number of things. Like you could deliver cookies to your house. You have T-shirts there available to you. There's a whole bunch of, you could do marketplace sends, which is a third party like a Grove Cookies or someone sending that, or you could have what we call Sendoso Direct or warehouse sends, inventoried sends, where we're actually housing that for you and fulfilling on it as you send it out. So it's pretty simple. Someone scans it on their phone, goes through and picks it. You can keep a limit on how much they're spending, what they're picking, how many people get to do it. So you make sure you have a touch on your spend. And then it's all tracked. So, like it's all going to be inside Salesforce. Whether people can action on it inside Salesforce or not, which, I think we've talked a lot about potentially having Mobley kind of fit in there for actual events.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can track and see who you've sent it to, if they've accepted it, when it's delivered, all of that. And you can do that right at the booth. And so you get that experience right there or after. Yeah.
I like that. Again, takes away the swag that nobody actually wants, feels more personalized, and if they get to pick it, I'm sure that they just leave with a better experience with you, which automatically pushes you up the priority list compared to everybody else that they might be talking with.
I think it's important to call it too, like having swag or physical things at your booth doesn't actually, for the most part, make a difference for people. Like I don't go buy a software because they gave me like something really cool at their booth, right? So like it's cool to have that, and it's nice, and it does have branding and it adds, but like I still think where the secret sauce is taking good notes while you're talking to people at your booth, or even if you're just working the floor on your own, you go sit by someone at a session, or you go network at lunch, like taking notes somewhere on what that person is or what they do, even if they're not in pipe or you're not trying to sell to them, or maybe they're a target company but not your ICP, like your actual your target ICP, I guess, buyer. Yeah. Like if you track that, you can send, and you can actually keep it custom and take those notes. It doesn't take more than like 10 seconds to write that down, but most people don't do it.
I love that is just encouraging the good behavior, right?
Yeah.
Like if I want to be effective with Sendoso, I need to know a little bit more about that person and actually have notes around it, right?
Yeah.
That's super cool. I want to address the pushback that you said. Sometimes the CFO will say like an extra $2,000 or $3,000 of gifting, and they can't justify it, or they push back at justifying it. Obviously, it makes sense for you. It makes sense for me. But what I would encourage anybody to do who is getting that pushback on spending money on something like Sendoso, that investment will save you so much wasted time and effort, right? Like, think about how many calls and emails and LinkedIn touches you would have to blast out in order to get the same number of responses that you would get from sending 5 or 10 personalized Sendoso gifts. I would argue that the latter is significantly more cost effective versus more expensive.
100%. And I think it's been really interesting ever since Google made the announcement on how they're going to be adjusting with their domains, because like put Sendoso aside, it doesn't really matter what you do. You're going to have to stand out better, and you have to be way more careful about how you send anything, whether it's an email, a text, you're going to have to find ways to stand out, which means that you're going to have to figure out how to scale those things that aren't naturally as scalable, right? And so there's lots of different types of platforms and plays that can help you do that, but I think we're saying a little biased here on my side, but like I think you're seeing a big shift back to like the benefit of like direct mail, sending personalized gifts, increases return. Like at least most people will respond to that. It's something that stands out. If you do it the right way, you still can't blast, and you could still technically get nailed on your domain if you do it wrong, right? But helps you be more creative, helps you stand out.
Yeah. That's super cool. I want to pivot to some questions that I ask every guest. think I may have forgotten once, but I ask almost every guest. Number one, what's the best event you've ever been to, and why? Could be a giant trade show like Dreamforce, or it could be a smaller little micro event. But I'd love to know what it is and why.
I mean, my favorite event I've ever gone to is the one that you just got back from, which was Surf and Sales.
Yeah.
That's a micro event, and I actually took a ton personally away from that. Changed a lot of the way how I sell, how I think about selling, how I manage, and just like the fact that it's in Costa Rica and you surf in between sessions is pretty cool.
I'm actually happy to be there.
Yeah. The other time though, and part of this is the nostalgia of when we were building Spiff, but 2019 SaaStr, when it was still in San Jose, was just like, it's a special event for me. Like SaaStr does a really good job of putting their events together. Would definitely, if you haven't been before, you should go. For anyone listening to this, it's just great speakers. They pull in, they do a great job of managing it. Again, like even down to like the swag store is just a great experience. But that one was just something cool for us. It was really the last one before COVID too. And so like everything else has kind of changed since then. And we had no business of being there, but we sponsored it and paid like $20K for our like 5x5
I think
booth.
the prices have quadrupled since you did
that.
that.
Yeah, at least. And I brought a whole bunch of socks, on like an express order that we had to do to get there. But that was just an event where it was super memorable. Just a good time. We really capitalized on it. If anything, we just learned a lot about our buyers and everything. But just a fun event to be at.
Yeah, I would plus one for SaaStr. I've been to I think 4, maybe 5 SaaStrs, and I always like when we were allocating budget for events this past year, being a pure startup, and we were talking about this before we even took our first investor check. I said we have to be at SaaStr, and I got a little bit of pushback from my team, like why? That's not like that's an expensive event. I don't care. That's the best event we will do all year. And even if we don't sell a deal, I will get value out of it because the content is so phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it really is like the perfect blend of everything. There's a ton of micro events, and rather than shutting them down or whatever, Lemkin just like publicly posts about them.
Oh, it's so cool.
And encourages it. It's awesome. We won a pitch competition at a little micro event.
Yeah.
This past year, and then we hosted our own little dinner meetup as well. Great people, great exhibitors. Like I found a lot of software that we need to be using. We've signed up with a few of them, and the environment is just fantastic.
Yeah.
I think they do a great job. That's the right way to do a big event.
The new venue is cool too. Barring bad weather, I guess. But it's been good so far.
It's hard to have bad weather in
San Mateo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shout out to Surf and Sales. Scott Leese was one of the guests on the podcast a couple of months ago and actually convinced me to sign up to go to Surf and Sales while I was interviewing him.
He's a good seller.
I'd say Scott's okay at selling.
Yeah.
He's a little bit better than okay. What I love about Surf and Sales is everything you mentioned, right? That the fact that it's not just some boring ballroom meetings that you're very, very tired and forcing yourself to stay open or stay awake on. So those real connections are made through the experiences, not through the content. But they also add good content and a good environment where you actually care about listening. Big shout out to Scott, Richard, and Jeff for putting on a fantastic little micro event. And I would argue that most people that go to that will get as much value, if not more, than they would for going to a big giant thing. So the ROI is pretty clear on those as well, depending on what your intentions are.
Yep. Yeah, and who's writing the check.
Yep. Also, who's writing the check.
Yeah.
That is true. Cool. Tanner, this has been great. What would you recommend if people want to get a hold of you? How can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, like most of you, right? So add me on LinkedIn. Let's chat there. It's probably the best way, and we can connect from there. And then Zach's got my info too. So
I'm gonna blast it out for everybody.
Yep.
Mailing address, you name it. I found it remotely.
Send me stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Send him something on Sendoso. I guarantee you'll get his attention. If you need his mailing address, look up Mobley.
Go.
All right. Thanks, man.
Good. Hey, thanks, Zach.